Parshas Sisa introduces the notion of not only the census, but also the giving of the chatzi shekel, of the half shekel piece, to the Mishkan, to the Adonim in this case, to the sockets of the karoshim, of the walls of the Mishkan. And it's a chatzi shekel. Machatzis hashekel b'shekel hakodesh. It's a specific type. Unlike when Moshe Rabbeinu raised funds or materials for the Mishkan in the first place, it was called Nediv Libo, called Sheyud Vena Libo, is whatever people wanted to give. In this case, it's specifically a chatzi shekel. It's a half a shekel. And the Torah says, this is in Pasuk Lamed Yud Gimel, that's 30:13. And then two psukim later, in Tesvav, which is 15, it says, the rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than a half a shekel. And the Torah says, why? It says, when giving the offering to Hashem, l'chaper al nafshosechem, to atone for your souls, for your lives. So we have to understand, first of all, why chatzi shekel, why no variation, and how is this a kapara? So the Gemara in Maseches Shekalim, Daf Vav, gives a number of reasons why specifically a half shekel. And one of the reasons it's given, and it's quoted in many of the Meforshim, is that the Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, sinned with half a day. So therefore they have to give half a shekel. What's the sin of half a day? So we know that in this parsha, it says that Moshe was delayed, or they perceived that Moshe was delayed in returning from the mountain. And they went from having heard the Aseret Dibros and the giving of the Torah, the Ten Commandments and the giving of the Torah, the revelation on Mount Sinai, and then they succumbed to Avodah Zarah, to idolatry, when they served the Egel Hazav, the golden calf. And they went, as Rav Schwab characterizes it, from Nasav and Nishma, from we will do and we will hear, which is considered to be on the Madrega, on the level of the Malachim, of the angels, says the Gemara. And they went to Ele Elohecha Yisrael, these are your gods, meaning this calf is your God. And it's a tremendous a plummeting decline from perhaps the highest of levels, or certainly near the highest of levels of Ruchnius, to among the lowest. How could this be? So Schwab explains, and we know this from many cases, that the Almighty created all human beings and created us with Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov, two inclinations, two compulsions, if you will. One is to do good, and the other is to do bad. And sometimes doing bad is a little subtle about what constitutes doing bad. Sometimes it's quite obvious. And we always have to be on our game. We always have to be focused. You should love God with all of your heart. And as we've mentioned on numerous occasions, Rabbi Victor Miller is very careful to point out that the Lev Lahavin, the heart represents the mind. It's the seat of understanding. So we always have to be mindful. And Rashi comments when it says B'chol Levavcha, Rashi says B'chol Levavcha means B'shnei Yitzrecha, with your two Yitzarim, with your two Yitzers, your good inclination and your evil inclination. And he says, he doesn't ask the question, but the question is implicit. How can you serve God with your evil inclination? We understand how you can serve God with your positive inclination, with your good inclination. How can you serve God with your evil inclination? So he says, that if somebody is jealous of another scholar, so he will increase, the person who's jealous will increase his scholarship. In other words, it's a benign jealousy. There's a destructive jealousy, which is that you wish to have that which your neighbor has, and you wish that your neighbor not have it. That's a very destructive jealousy. But there's a constructive jealousy, and the constructive jealousy is where you are inspired, where you see that somebody else can achieve a certain goal, and then you set your goal to achieve it. Roger Bannister was the first person, at least in the records that we keep, to break the 4-minute mile record. And now I understand that no self-respecting high school student who's on track team runs a mile in more than 4 minutes, because now it's become the standard because of a lot of kinas sofrim. And much of professional sports is all about kinas sofrim. It's about seeing metaphorically speaking, it's about seeing what other people can do and then trying to incorporate that into your game. So Rav Schwab says that we must always be mindful. Everyone has, at all times, a struggle between the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is ever present. Person never beats the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara just gets more refined. As a person gets more refined, the Yetzer Hara gets more refined, gets more subtle. And this is actually a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why is that? Because the Yetzer Hara enables us to increase our capacity and our capability. A famous basketball player, not so famous that I remember exactly who it was. It was either Bill Russell or Bill Bradley, and I know they're not the same guy. But one of them, I read in a book called Playing in the Zone, Spirituality in Sports. He's quoted as saying, your opponent is your partner in raising your level of play. The Yetzer Hara, actually, in our attempt to overcome the Yetzer Hara, we actually become stronger. But the problem is if we lose focus, if we lose concentration on the game, then we can fall. The Chicago Bulls in their 95-96 championship season, where they did the three-peat, they had the winningest record at the time in NBA history, basketball history. They won 72 games and they lost 10. And half of the teams to which they lost played mediocre basketball. They were around 500 ball. That means that they lost about half of all the games that they played. Now, how could it be that the championship Bulls, the world championship Bulls, arguably the best team in history, how could it be that they would lose? You could understand, okay, lose 10 games to the top teams, but how do you lose to mediocre teams? How do you lose to bad teams? Well, you lose if you say, you know what, I don't have to exert myself. You become overconfident. If you say, I did it, I made it, I got this, it's in the bag, I'm good, I accomplished, that becomes fertile ground for the Yetzer Hara. And Rav Schwab says that this is what happened to the Bnei Yisrael when, after they said Nasa v'nishma, then they were on an amazing spiritual level. And the danger of being on that spiritual level is that you believe that you're there and you're a permanent resident. And nobody's a permanent resident of any spiritual level. We always have to be on guard. We always have to fight in order to not only maintain our position, but also to increase. And this is represented, says Rav Schwab, by the machzis hashekel lechaper al nafsho seichem, the half a shekel to atone for your souls. What's it atoning for? It's atoning for half of your yetzer. Your yetzer tov doesn't need atonement. It's your yetzer hara that needs kapara. It's when you follow the yetzer hara, when you follow the other half, that you need kapara. And that's the symbolism, according to Rav Schwab, of the machzis hashekel, is that it's keneged the machzis hayetzer, which is our yetzer hara, which caused us b'machzis hayom, at the half of the day, to plummet from the level of nasa v'nishma to the level of Ela Elohecha Yisrael, of serving the golden calf. Machzis hashekel is there to remind us to be focused, to anticipate the challenges in our spiritual life, to plan around them, and to ultimately up our game and increase our capabilities so that we can grow in our avodas Hashem. Have a good Shabbos.